12 people on you.
Want to say something? Huh? Got 14 people already. On the screen. Who's going to turn it on when he comes? Already on?
I think so.
You can hear us. You think who's not feeling well? Yeah. Yeah, like the elevators had movement.
Should be on the plane. So, I'm going to turn it up. 12 o'clock, let's go pick them up.
So these 12 together. You got all three? Taking all three on?
I think so. I took 4 there.
Who's not coming back?
Well, let's see, go back home.
Come again? Man, we'll come with other shoots coming.
Who was here, is here.
He's not feeling well.
Who did?
That's what Ya'Qub just said.
Don't tell me.
But now it's Shabbos, everybody.
Ya'Qub here? I think most of them set it up.
You hear me, right? Good.
Okay.
Says a very funny thing. A Ben once Klal Yisrael counted, and he puts it in a funny lashon. He Sisa es Reish B'nei Yisrael. When you want to raise up by counting them, what does that mean? You raise up by counting them. And he says, what should it be? Each person should give ish kaifa nafshe. Why? Because when you count the Jews, you bring in death upon them. You get Magefa. So you want to save them from the Magefa. So we're going to give stock instead. So when they count, hey, you don't want us counted? Don't count us. Who's it? You're giving us the Chiv to be counted. So why do we have a Magefa? Why do we have all these problems? So I think Chad is what the Bishop is trying to tell you. First of all, what's the point of the counting at all? So the Rashivas Atzal used to say that Bamidbar always comes out before Shavuos. As it is, and in Yankov Emden Siddur says, count and be Mekabel. What does counting got to do with Kabbalah Satira? The idea is, Moshe Rabbeinu is one, and I'm one. And I, in my whatever Keiches HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me, to feed that Madrege, I'm as big as Moshe Rabbeinu is. Moshe Rabbeinu has more matanis, has more gifts from God, that has nothing to do with me. But if I can produce from it, I can produce as much as Moshe Rabbeinu is. So I'm equal. If that's the case, then get down to start. The whole thing, the Yish Hadas is, what do you want from me? Who am I? I want from you, I want you, only your Kishrein. So I'm not asking you for what God didn't give you. I'm asking you for what God gave you. So that's what we want. Now, it's like you have an army. Let's go take a halacha. A guy is having a party. He's in a restaurant, let's say, and he didn't have married yet. And there's about 30 people there. He says, okay, we have a minyan. So you say, okay, how many Shomer Shabbos do they have there? 2. You have 30 people, you have a minyan. You don't have a minyan, you only have 2. Right? So I have 30. That's many bodies. That's not what counts. Same thing, you have an army. And you want to put them out, send them out to to fight. And they're all 4 Fs. What's it going to help me? It's not an army. Right? So the idea is we want how many shleimim you have. Who is a person? Who's the guy that? That's what I want to count. And that, unfortunately, we don't make. We're not that madrege. So therefore, we don't want to count you as one, but we're counting you as one, so therefore you need kapara. But again, so why count it all? So I'll tell you, that's an Indian, I think, that the Torah wants us to aim for a goal. If we don't count it all, people will just say, I can't do it, and it's finished. I have to put this lesson across that you have to count. You have to be counted. That's the most important thing. You have to count. And if you don't count, all life is worthless. That's the message. Where do we see that in practicality? From the Indian of, I think, from benching. And Al Gemara is the Kasha and the Rebbeinu Shalom says, Sisa Hashem Pones Banu V'Alecha V'Yosmach Shalom. Rebbeinu Shalom is going to show you favoritism. They asked, Malachim asked him, you don't show favoritism, you say. So how can you say I showed him favoritism? So the Rebbeinu Shalom answers, he says, how can I not show them favoritism? I was mitzaveh v'chaltas v'rachta, and they bench even if the kazayis ukebei. Right? So, what does that answer the question? Now, they're doing more than they should do. Yeah, if I'd ask you, what would be if you did a half a kazayis? Right? Well, what would you say? The same thing, or would you say it's a bracha levatollah? It's a bracha levatollah. So if it's a bracha levatollah, so why is kazayis not a bracha levatollah? You have to be Savaita. I'm not Savaita, so it's a bracha levatollah. Okay. So pshat is, if you feel gratitude, you're mechuyev to show it. If I'm thankful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for something, I'm mechuyev to say thank you. I don't expect, Hashem doesn't expect us to be thankful until we're Savaita. But what happens if I'm actually thankful for the little bit that you gave me, for the kazayis, or the kebeya? And I can live another week, I can live another day, I can live another whatever it is there. And or it tasted good, whatever went down, as much as I had. But I'm thankful that I got that little bit. Mechuyev to bench me the araisa. Okay, this is a whole shiur on this. I'm not going into that now. Huh?
Even by Chatzis? Even by Chatzis eyes?
No, not half of guys.
Even though I feel satisfied.
No, it has to be achila. Right, but even though, afal PK to me don't make sense. I'm saying it's jumping around. Something disappeared. I'm back again, but that's about all. But now they're back. Okay. Sorry about that. So we're not talking about the details of Rabbanim. We're talking about what the Reisimons came along in the Rabbanim. They said, since people can reach this madrege, that they can be thankful even for bakazayis and kebeya, so let's make a takone that they have to bench bakazayis and kebeya, and therefore, hopefully, if this training them in this thing that you're thankful for this, you are thankful for it, and then you'll be making it into the deraisa. That's the same thing over here. I keep trying until I make it. We say the same thing by Noila. I keep trying until I make it. But the fact that I try, that's a chiv to try. If I don't have the ability to try, I will never reach it. Because I'll just say it's not possible and forget about it. Okay. Then he talks about the different things. I'm not going to talk about all of them, but let's take, why did he put in, before the Chet Ego, he has the summon, the Shem's Mishra. It's a impossible. Rashi even puts it down like you can't soak the amount of stuff that has to become the Shem HaMishra with the lugim that they have, and the lugim, it's not going to work out. You're just not going to be able to get that much. You're not going to have anything left. It's going to be absorbed into the grass. I say you soak the water for it, whatever it is there. But obviously, it's not a normal way of getting getting perfume into the oil, making the Shem HaMishra. So it's a ness, right? So I'm showing you when I want it done, it can be done. Okay, so it's a ness in a way. So you would think sometimes when something's a ness, that it's a raya that the Rebbeinu Shem wants it, right? Otherwise, why do you make a ness, right? So we'll see later on about the ego. I say when Aharon explains, he threw the gold into the thing, Vayetzu ego hazeh, that's a ness. The ego came out by itself. Nobody only formed it. It's done. They intended to form it, but it didn't have to be formed. It just walked out. So therefore, if it walked out, it's a golden calf walking. What doesn't even make any sense, right? So it's a ness. The management of a ness, the guy who wants it. No, it's Avodah Zarah. That's the part that you have to understand. The fact that it can be done as a nest, can be done anyway, that's a test to you. But you know that that's us, and that's the only thing. It's the same thing like the guy in Taina, why don't we eat chaza? You see, the chaza is the only animal that's created only for food. It doesn't do anything except to be eaten for food. So, l'chayre, God wants you to eat it. How come you don't eat it? Because God said no. Now, he made it for food, but he doesn't want us to have it for food. And that's the same thing here. I can make it, can make all the nisim you want, but you're not allowed to use it. Then he talks about Shabbos, also before the ego. And what is that? He says that Pshat is that you mechuyev to keep Shabbos, ach v'rach, and now it's you even if it's like a binyan beis hamikdash. Now it's the avodas the beis hamikdash you do Shabbos. The binyan beis hamikdash you don't do Shabbos. Okay. Why? He says lodas. Now it's. It says Shepsoisai Tishmer Ki Oisi Yibeni Yubenechem L'Dareisechem Lodas Keni Hashem Ekadishchem. Rashi says to Lodas who? The Goyim. To teach the Goyim why God made us holy. Why are we special? Because we have the Bris of Shabbos. We know the fact that we always are made by not doing anything on Shabbos that's constructive, that the Rebbeinu Shem created the world, that itself makes us a holy people. And this goes even when we have to build something, what we would consider a holier job. We want to build a Beis HaMikdash. Then, good, you work in your field, that we understand. But the building Beis HaMikdash, of course, we should do it on Shabbos. No, we don't do it on Shabbos. Shabbos is holier than the building Beis HaMikdash. So the question is, okay, so you told me that. But what, now that I know it, what does it apply in our case? Where are they building this Beis HaMikdash? You tell me, who would you want to teach this to the Goyim, so they should understand how important Shabbos is, right? But let's say if the Goyim can't see us, we should be able to build on Shabbos then, right? Because the Ananiah covered us up from the world. So if that's the case now, we can build on Shabbos. No, I don't care. I don't want you to build on Shabbos, even though nobody knows, because that's the risk that we have, that it shows that how important Shabbos is. Okay. And why is that important before the ego? I think because this is a lomdishit pshat, right? You're telling me really Shabbos is important, Beis Hamikdash is important, this is more important, less important, you can't see me, ganzes Svoros you're throwing in on me. When it comes to the ego, we also have a lot of Svoros. We have to serve God, Moshe is not here, we got to have an ego, we have to have something where the Ashreis Ashrin, it could be Chawan, whatever it is there, and therefore it's a logical conclusion. It says once you go from one thing because you can learn this, and because you learn this now is matter you the ego, so you should know that in the end, in Vayakel, it does only says that ain't being Beis Hamikdash Shabbos. That's all it says. You know, in 3 psukim, we passed it up this whole parsha that we just said in 3 psukim. Now here I can give you Svoros. When you're not using Svoros to do wrong things, I can work with you with Svora. But once you start becoming a lamdan, and you start using your Svoros how to be mata things and stuff like that, then I have to tell you straight out, this is it, finished, no more discussion. Okay. Now what happened, however they made the toys and the days, Moshe is not here. And there's got a lot of jokes on this thing, and I'm telling it to you. And the thing, but if you heard them, you know that that's our own bigotry between ourselves. Whoever we want to insult in a nice way, or maybe even not in a nice way. Okay. But anyway, they want something. They need something concrete. Listen, the Shiur is, why didn't they take Aaron? I mean, till Moshe came along and did all the nisim, and Aaron was with him. As far as they were concerned, Aaron was an equal partner, doing all the mitzvah. He was the one who's talking to Paro. He was the one who's talking to them and little thing. So why on the why didn't they just pick Aaron? So there's an expression in Yiddish: "A kalb von der Weiten is besser than an eigen Aaron." A kid from far is better than your own Aaron. What does that mean? You got that shidduch, right? You read a shidduch with a kid you know. But you know, I got this chesron, you got this chesron. But what about all the milas he's got? Wow, those are big milas. Yeah, but he's got this chesron. All of a sudden, he's puzzled, right? But a guy from far away, you don't even know who he is, and they tell you, oh, this is a great guy, wow, fantastic. Immediately, he's the guy for me. Why? You don't even know if anything's wrong with him, right? I don't think into it. Something gay, because I didn't see it in my own eyes. I believe all the baloney you can send. About my eigen Aaron, when I saw the things, so it's like, I remember when Aaron was jumping on the benches in the Beis Medrash. So how can I respect it? And stuff like that. What do you mean? He was 3 years old at the time. So what does one thing got to do with the other? Nay, I still that Wildkeit is still in there probably, and I can't take it. So I'd rather take a chance and a kalb from the Weiten. Okay. And they want now. It happened to be that the Ralbag in Tanakh tells you why Rav Menavot picked the Egel. Pick a golem to make. He learned from the Egel in the Midbar. In other words, once you don't have a Beis Hamikdash, you don't have a Moshe Rabbeinu, you don't have this, the next best thing is an Egel. In other words, because of the representation from the Chayes HaKodesh, that I can't answer you why it is, but it's the next best thing for a place of Hashreis Hashrina. Okay. Obviously, at least David is old, so it's not the next best thing, but technically, it would be. And so his excuse was the area in the Midbar was an Erev Rav, so they misinterpreted what took place. On the other hand, here we're all doing ourselves Hashvatim, so we have no problem. So we know the truth. We know how to set up the truth. So therefore, we won't have this problem. Okay, that's what obviously was the big mistake for the people, for the fear of the Yivot. So they came and he said, make the thing. So he says, we need gold. Go get the gold from your kids and your wives. Didn't get a nickel out of them. The woman, they had, how come they had this Amunah Pshuta? We had by here, we have by Yamsuf, you have all things that the women had Amunah Pshuta, 3 minutes king cup. We're getting there. God said, no Avodah Zarah, no Avodah Zarah. No thing, don't tell me it's religious, don't tell me it's a Shechina, give me too much Torah, leave me alone. I do the right thing. And Baruch Hashem, that's what they did. And they did not, they would have lived. Anyway, so what did the people have to do? They had to give up their old earrings. Okay? Whatever that means. And obviously, it was still enough. And then he took it, and he made the, he seems to say here, he says he made it, but when he's telling over the story to Moshe, he says, that's what they learn up in there. But what did he do? He's trying to postpone this act. Now, how did he get involved in this act? Because he's trying to talk to them, guys, you're making a mistake on the day, you make a mistake, you got more and more day to go, you're going to think. And because of that, they killed Chur. I don't think a guy took a gun and shot him. I think it would be more like a stampede. Like, push him aside, get out of the way, whatever it is there. We're going to do what we want to do, and that's it. So, Chur was killed. And I think this is brought down that the cheshbon he has, he didn't want Kohen V'Novi Yom Echad. And at that time, Chur was the Kohen. He's a Bechor. And what he called is the Navi, Aaron's the Navi. And then there'll be a lot of tzolus. And who says I won't be able to convince them or postpone their things? Right now, they're asking for actual Fumzach. They're not asking to do Avodah Zarah. They're asking for a thing for Chumash Shiur, which we said the Egel's the best thing for that. So what's the danger? 24 hours of my Moshe is going to be here. Okay. And his cheshbon could have been very right. Let's see it from the Psukim even. Aaron, we're making a party tomorrow, right? Okay. So they all got up for the party. They brought oilets. So that's good stuff. They were making with korbanos. And then they sat down to eat and drink. And then they got into the Avodah Zarah, into the Litzonis. Now, how did that happen? I think in my mind, I don't know if you're talking about Fumiyidin, just because they sat down to a Purim party, we don't expect to do Avodah Zarah. Right? It's the same thing. You're sitting down with Kedusha, eating kachim, eating what do you call it? But I believe, since the people who were killed were like quasi relationships from the Shvatim. How many were there from the actual Shvatim? I don't know. But the Ikar is the Erev were the ones. So what Bereshim said to Moshe, Geshiches Amcho, your nation, you wanted to take out of Mitzrayim. I didn't want to take them out of Mitzrayim. Not that I'm against Gerim. I want Gerim. I want them to go, but they're not ready yet. And they have to be ready before they can join us. You're going into a midbar. You're going into a 40-year. You're going to be there for a long time. And these things, they're going to get upset. They're going to be, what do you call it? And therefore, now's not the time. Tell them we'll pick them up in 40 years from now, or whatever we'll pick them up. Or we'll get to Eretz Yisrael when that time they're still expected to get there in 3 days. So we'll get to Eretz Yisrael, we finish the thing, then we'll invite you to join us. Don't join us in the midbar. That's what he did. So when they saw a party, they saw, oh, now these guys, they know how to throw a party. Let's really show them how to throw a party. And they got down to throw a party, and all of a sudden, they're doing Avodah Zarah. That's a pshat. Okay. Now, why are we all blamed for this? So it could be for two reasons. One is they actually participated, because it says when he spoke to Kol Homes and Nizvi Azov, the whole nation took out their gold. So that means everybody participated in the ego. And the thing though. So, but they didn't intend to have an ego. Aaron didn't intend to either. And yet in Parshas Ekev, he's blamed very strongly, and here also he's blamed very strongly about that he made the ego, because what ultimately was the thing that made the people be chayte was an ego. If they wouldn't have an ego, they wouldn't have been chayte. So and you created the ego. You thought it's going to be good. That's your problem. When it comes to taking responsibility, if it doesn't work out, you blew it. You know, it's not sad to say, I meant well. You didn't mean well. It doesn't make a difference. Well, if it turns out bad, you're responsible. And that's the part they have to understand. Okay. Now, he calls them Moshe Rabbeinu, that they're namksheirif, stiff-necked people. In a way, we use that as a breaking point, right? We're so stubborn, we're not going to give in to the goyim, we're not going to do this and that, right? So it's a good point that we're namksheirif, right? It's a way we think to be a bad point. It's a bad point. It's a good point to keep us that was stiff. What he called, we don't give in easily to any argument, torture, whatever it is there. But l'maisa, it's not a good thing. And I think the reason for this is because this is the same problem that we had in Mitzrayim, that they were in a memte shari tuma. Were they really memte shari tuma? They didn't kill, they didn't do znus, right? They should at least knock down to Mem Zayin. So what does it mean memte shari tuma? But it means that we do what we wanted to do. We were trained in Mitzrayim that we have no Messiah, and even though now technically we got a Torah and so on, but we just got the Torah. We're only 3 months out of Mitzrayim, only 1 month out of, 7 weeks out of Mitzrayim, and stuff like that. So therefore, we're not ready yet, if you want to put it that way. Okay. So we still do what we did before. Now, which each person decides himself what's right and what's wrong, and that is the problem. Or even if they don't decide what's right and what's wrong, because they were Makabel Torah, obviously, is they decide how to keep the Torah. And that's what do you think? We'll talk about that on cases that will actually come up, maybe discuss what they are. Okay. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu gives an argument, that you took him out to kill him in the Harav Reuven Feinstein. Now it's Ro Neged Pneichem, which is what Pari told Moshe Rabbeinu, why are you taking the kids out? Ro Neged Pneichem. Now you made the bar is too high. You're taking kids out and you're telling them there's Arayis Aras, all these things that they like to do. You're answering them and you expect them to keep it. How's it possible to do? Elavos, that's the whole point of the Torah. We train you right, you're going to do it right. But they just got the Torah, they're just young guys, so they're not going to do it right. So that is, you took us out, you gave us great ideals, but we're not going to be able to live up to it. And therefore, they're going to be right. You don't give ideals greater than the person can accept. Right? That was Par's argument. So that's the argument he used here. For Miraculum, he uses a different argument. He said you don't have the ability to do it. We'll talk about the Chalukim then, maybe. Okay. You have... now, all in the middle of this thing, you have all of a sudden a crazy discussion. Yishma Yeshua Eskol Om B'Royoi, and he says to Moshe Rabbeinu, I hear call Kel Mochama B'Machane. There's a war going on in the Machane. And Moshe Rabbeinu tells him in Kalanis Gevurah, in Kalanis Chalusha, whenever you have a war, you have winners and losers. You'll have either the groaning or the victory sound. One of the two you have. But if you don't have it, then it's not a war. You just can say there's a lot of noise. We don't know what it is about. That's what he says. What's this discussion have to do with anything at the moment? And what's it brought even brought into the tale? What it's trying to teach us? So Shiva says that it has to do with like chinuch. Imagine in a house, a modern house. In my time, probably it would have been right, maybe. But modern house, it's quiet upstairs. So the mother says to the father, he must be doing his homework. Right? You believe it? Okay. I say, he must be doing his homework. That's the pshat. You know, they fool themselves into the thing there. So Moshe Rabbeinu, so when Yeshua says to Moshe, you know, Kol Nes Muhammad Machane, he's saying, you know, there's noise, must be war. Can't be anything else, right? Because anything else, they wouldn't be doing anything bad. So it must be noise, it must be war. So Moshe Rabbeinu says, when you're going to be a leader of Klal Yisrael, you can't be done like kafschus. You have to analyze. Is it a war? Is this sound that you hear possibly to be the sound of war? Or sound of war contains winners and losers? So therefore, it couldn't possibly be the sound of war. Elifos, maybe Sabed is over. Oh, now we got a problem. That's the way you got to look at it. So a leader can't be done like Kafsus, saying, nothing's happening. No, you see something that's out of the ordinary, you better make sure it's going good. That's what this argument was put in over here. Okay, they give everything out to the people, and then he says, Mil Hashem Eloi, they also call Bnei Levi. Okay. Now, how does this happen? This is also a point of what happens sometimes, that the Mechayiv will require something to become Chayiv for doing something, even though he didn't do anything. Why wouldn't the Bnei Levi react before Moshe Rabbeinu came down? They didn't know you're allowed to kill an Eved Avodah. I doubt it. Probably knew all the laws. The Carter called it all. So whatever halachas that were around, they knew they had to pass in there. Whatever, however they killed them. Right? The trouble is, and that's a problem that we have in all the days, is pshat, you need to have a vocal majority. That's the whole union of when I'm doing mitzvahs for you, Arvus. That's the union of Arvus. Now it's my job is to make sure you don't go off the derech. Now, how do I make sure by that? I make sure by constantly talking about the right things. It's never going to happen. What are you throwing a cup for? What do? You have to be talking about solche Sachen. It's not going to happen. That's when people always talk. Do you ever talk about murder? Who talks about murder? Murder, man, no, who's going to kill anybody? Okay. So we don't talk about murder. So what do we have in the world? That I'm talking about from Eden. We're careless, which is the real din of murder. We have we kill the kids. What do you call it? Abortion. You have abortion, right? And we don't say too much about it anymore. And think about it. You know, you go into a doctor, a high-risk doctor, right? Fancy guy. I need him because I'm a sick guy. The woman, man. I need to go to a high-risk doctor, and he's going to help me for my pregnancy and so on and so forth. And I know he does abortions because he asked me 14 times, do you want to do an abortion better? right? And I always tell him, no, I'm thinking, right? He's a murderer. When you come into the office, what do you say? How are you, doctor? How's your wife? How's your kids? How's everything else? My buddy. He lived next door, a guy from the mafia. Do you say hello to him? No. He's a murderer. He's also a murderer. So what makes him that? So somehow certain murders, we automatically accept it already. Now with this, he's really not murder. That's his shita. And if that guy who, I forgot his name already, besides Kevorkian, which we have, pulling the plug and stuff, those shilas, besides Kevorkian, got to read the Marshall I wanted to remember. Oh yeah, there's a guy who found or discovered vitamin C, a big scientist, and there was a lot of people. So he wanted that they should make a law that life starts at 3 and ends at 80, and therefore at 80, the doctor can pull the plug, and until 3 you can pull the plug. Why? Because you don't know till 3 if to be a stable kid yet or not, and anything there. So therefore, if you discover it's not, you can still abort it, even though he was born already. And on the other hand, the guy reaches 80 already, and there's so many things wrong with him and stuff like that. He should also be death. That's called the date. So if you kill him, that's not called killing anybody. Right? That's how you can make laws. Anything you want. That's that. So therefore, that's the dangerous part of it. Okay. Now, there's a little thing here I want to go into an Indian, which is maybe negate to Yom Kippur or a thing there. It says, what did the Banshee do to Klal Yisrael? Yeah. He says, Yom Pogdi, in the day that I will remember you, I'll remember that you're doing bad. For Kati Aleim Chatosim, I will add onto it the chet of the Ya'akov. In other words, I'm not punishing you. I'm accepting what you said to me. In other words, I'm not going to punish them. It says he had chavat, and he said they should live and let them live. But when I do punish, I'm going to punish you for the ego. Now, first of all, how do you do that, and what does it mean? If you forgave us, you forgave us. You didn't forgive us, I didn't forgive you. I'm not going to kill you. That's all he promises. What does he say? Vayinocham Hashem al rosh edibelas lama. Yatcharote, Rachmonis, whatever it is, that he's not going to kill the Jews, right? But that means he forgave them. He didn't forgive them at all, and I'm going to punish you. That's what it says in the Psukim, right? So how do you mean if I forgave you? What do you mean? I'm not punishing you, and yet when I'm punishing you, I'm punishing you. How does that work? Shot is like this: when you want to punish a child, what's the main thing you want to get across to the child? Your disapproval. That he did wrong. You're not interested in hurting the child. When the person who patches his child says it hurts me more than it hurts you, he really means it. It does hurt him more than it hurts you, the kid, because he doesn't really want to do this. But he thinks he has to give a patch. He gives the patch. So if it's just to teach the kid lessons, so the patch is going to be like this. Small little patch. Not going to hurt, not going to be anything. The kid will still cry because you showed disapproval. You don't like what he did. Okay, Baruch Hashem, you got the point across and you didn't hurt the kid. What happened if you're really angry at him? And then the smack goes like boom, right? It's the same smack. You have a smack. But it depends how I give it to you. Same way it goes with Malchus. The guy's chayiv Malchus. You got to get a guy there. He's got to hit with all the strength. I got a 99-year-old guy with all the strength. It's not going to hurt me too much. Right? I put down a 20-year-old guy and he's going to do with all the strength, he's going to kill me. Right? There's a difference in how the patch comes across. When I'm angry, it comes across hard. So when I'm going to pay you back for your averas, I'm angry at that time. I'm going to stick in the egel. I'm still remembering the egel and I'm angry. That's how the patch is going to come out. But it's still only the one patch. I didn't give you more than what you deserve. Okay, that was basically what the eventually said with him. It happens in Parshas Ekev. Rashi goes through and it says, Salachti kidvarecha. The eventually said over there, Salachti. At the end of the, when he came down for after Yom Kippur, the couple saw. On Yom Kippur, we say Piyutim, one of his Salachti, right? Salachti. Why doesn't they have one with Mochalti? It's a higher madrege. Slicha and Mechila Slicha Kapara. Right? Yeah, that's where you're going in this. So Mechila is a bigger madrege. Then what do you call it? Slicha means like, you didn't do a bad thing. It's okay. You did a shogeg. I know you want to be a good guy, so okay, fine. You did amazing. I got to forgive you. That's it. So I want forgiveness. I don't want just salachti kidvarecha. I want to tell you that maybe that's the Indian that we have problems with ourselves. There's a lot of people that say by Kriya Shema, they say the Hagdoma did Amochel everybody that did me anything bad today. Right? And the truth is, people ask you Mechila for things they do to you, and you say Amochel, right? But you don't mean it. Because I'm angry. And I don't want to, but guy asked Mechila, what am I supposed to say? Right? That's the problem. You're supposed to say no. What do you mean you're supposed to say no? If you don't mean it, you can say it. The guy asks you, a guy owes you $100 and he asks you for mechila, and you say to him, I forgive you. I don't care later say, I really didn't mean it. You forgave me. Same thing goes with this. And once I forgave you, I can't have any tightness on you because that I'm having on an innocent person. Because I forgave you. You're innocent. So if you're innocent, how do I have tightness on you? So therefore, it's a contradiction. So once you forgive, you got a problem if you hate after that. Even but a lot of people do that. So how do we save them? So I would say this is the union of salachti. I don't want you to get punished because of me, but we're not buddies. This phrase by the Valley Musa bring down, let's say you got your Michael person for doing an avil, let's say he went and told all the secret plans you had about building your business. The guy stole the business from you, right? So you forgive him for that. I don't want you punished for it, but aren't your friend anymore. I'm not telling you any more secrets. That's for sure not. So what kind of do you have to be? Yet the din is, what's all they say, that if I'm meichel you, I'm mechuyev to become the same buddy I was before. The same buddy as before. I discovered you're not my buddy. What do you mean the same buddy as it was before? I said, this is what it means. I discovered you're not really my buddy. And I just don't want you punished. I want salachti. I said, oh, it's okay. We can live along. We can get along. But I'm not. But as far as you hurt me and stuff like that, to say that I don't feel the hurt, I still feel the hurt, and I'm still upset about it. I don't want you punished. That's salachti, and that's a big madrege that we're asking for. In other words, get rid of. We should be on our own punishment level. No more the one patch, whatever it is that's gone. We eventually will not do that. But he did not forgive us to the point where we would have the same friendship relationship that we had before. Until we do a real tshuva and a real, what do you call it? And then we obviously will get to the same relationship, even bigger. But as long as we don't do that, just the fact that I'm saying it doesn't give you the same entry powers you had before by Mechila. And that's the difference, I think. And that's why, and it's more realistic that a person can say salachti than demachalti. It's hard to be meichel someone, but to be slicha, it's okay. You can do that. And you see the chet of Aaron that it puts in the with making the egel, we spoke about it, participating. Vayigav Hashem es al asher osu es egel asher osa Aaron. Aaron made the egel. And in Akev it says that the Benish was so angry at Aaron, he wanted to destroy him and everything else there, and he repaid, and he got half of forgiven, half not. And there's another Rabbi who died, there was some still were alive. But I'm just saying, but the idea is, Aaron definitely did not make the egel in any form that should be Avodah. Never had any havamin of his name. What do you call it? With all your good intentions or whatever you try to do, that came out of a michshel to Klal Yisrael, you're responsible for it. That means you didn't think it through. Now, what should I have done? Should I have thought it through, meaning in the sense that that I should have done something else? I couldn't have done anything else. I was afraid of what to do anything else. I had the thing there. Yeah, but you should have thought of the results, and maybe sometimes you have to accept the things. That's what they threatened. There's a Rebbeinu Shalom in the world. The Rebbeinu Shalom takes place that these things won't happen. That's the important. The union of why the second luchas, in a way, even though Moshe Rabbeinu had to break the stones, at least the writing is still the Rebbeinu Shalom's, but creating the stones, the luchas itself, Moshe Rabbeinu had to do himself. The shaylas and those are the ones that last. We're dealing with luchas shnius, so therefore those are the ones that last. Because if your guy prepares himself better for something, he accepts it easier. If he comes in without that preparation, even though it could be so glorious, and so what do you call it? And there was a big tumult about it. And they heard the first two was from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and every second they died. And all these things are wonderful and great and things there, but at the same time, they're too big in a way to accept. Shira learns that that when Benishon gave Torah to Hasina and Hasinai, Kof Aleim Hakigigis, he turned the mountain like a bottle and picked it up over their heads, and he said, "You guys are going to listen to this. If not, I'm going to destroy you, kill you." So most people learn it was by force, and it really wasn't. They wouldn't want to take him, but we forced them to accept the Torah. He says it's hard to say that. These are coming already to a point where everybody can Vayichan Yisrael Neged that they actually were there for Kabbalah Satira. They want Kabbalah Satira. You told me that they really didn't want it. It was forced. There doesn't seem to say in Torah anything like that. So he learns Kafal and Hagigigas in a way that you see too much glory. So I can't deny there's Rebbeinu Shalom. I saw Har Sinai, I saw Yamsuf, I saw that's a Makis. Can you deny there's a God? No, I can't deny there's a God. If I can't deny there's a God, then obviously there's a God. And if there's a God, I have to listen to him. I have no choice because he's that big. You have to wait a time till the glory is forgotten a little bit. Then it becomes a choice of yours. But as long as the glory is there, it's not your choice. It's because I can't deny it. It's there. Now, as he talks about the Aron, he said, you should make an Aron. Right? And where's the pasuk on that? Put into the Aron. something about it, should say Lashon. I'm just I'm not finding it. But anyway, he put it in Aron. Where'd the Aron come from? Well, he knew he was going up to get the Asels Adibris, right? So where's he going to put them? So obviously he has to have a box for them, right? That was the original box of the Aron before the Rebbeinu was building the Mishkan, where it was gold and all that stuff. This was a wooden box. And he says, Rashi brings down that this was the box, the Aron that went out to them to wartime. The only time they actually took out the real Aron was by Eli, when it was captured by the Plishtim. But normally when they went to war, they took the Aron, the wooden Aron. And that's where the Shivrei Luchas are. As Rashi meant to say, and this is, the Gemara says, Luchas v'Shivrei Luchas Menachem ba'Aron. So therefore, he's probably covered to a Talmud Chacham that for Kaddish Torah because he's a Shivrei Luchas. Because he once had it, and now that it's broke, he still got to give. Has the same kosher kedusha as the real Luchas. If you have that, so that's all in the Winter War. Where was this Aron? Normally, where was it kept? I have no idea. But I'm saying, if you took out the things, and you're talking about that the broken stones were in the regular Aron, and they went in to the Kodesh Kedoshim to get the broken luchas, to put them into the wooden box and take that box to war. I don't know, it doesn't sound that so right that they should be able to do that. Now, it's maybe we're living in two different arenas. Now, maybe it means to show you, not that it's lazy in the Aron, so you got to say you got this and that, maybe it's the same Kedusha, but I don't know. But somehow, the fact that it lays in the Aron, what gives it the Kedusha? But the fact that I have an Aron made special for it, and it lays in that special Aron, and that Aron goes out to war and stuff like that, and we expect tremendous miracles from that Aron. So that l'chayra, I think that would be an inyan of Shivrei Luchas and Menachem Aron. But from the Gemara's mashma, it was the Aron in the regular Aron, so I can't answer you. The thing is to look at the Rashi. I don't know why it's not there. Usually I know where it is, and this is not coming out. It's in the bottom, maybe the pasuk. Maybe it's in the bottom. Maybe it's in the bottom. I'm sorry. And probably also naked. Yeah. Then the Iker is that the Rebbeinu made that we have to not intermarry, that we don't have a mix up with the goyim. Meaning we don't have shaykhs with the goyim. And in the end, the Chazal had to make Yisrael Tova. That's for that alone, which is Cholav Yisrael or Cholav Akum. It's not Cholav Yisrael. Yisrael's Cholav Akum. Anything not Cholav Akum is Mutter. Cholav Akum is also Pas Akum, Gevinas Akum. Eating things there which are also not because they're treif or anything else. The sheikh is the treif. We don't want you to have drinks with them. We don't want you to have shaykhs with them. We don't want you to eat with them. Right? So we made all these things we made, so you shouldn't do it. But the question is, how do you still avek the Isa? In other words, what is wrong? What are we doing wrong? So obviously you have to say that we're dealing with, it could be talfus. So how come it's the Rosh Hashanah mitrila? Mashban told the way the Yirav Dova, there was you were allowed to eat milk from a guy. So what happened? Why? Because treifa milk doesn't look like kosher milk. Kosher milk is white. The reason it's white, it has cream in it, and that cream is a heavy white thing. Before homogenizing, it would settle at the top of the bottle. You would always have to shake the bottle before it got mixed up. And otherwise, it would be too much cream in it. The cream rises to the top, and that would have been there. So it would have been too much. So it looks different, tastes different. Maybe the color is what does it. Look, I said looks, because I said looks and the taste. Or roiv, because of the taste, maybe most milk sold in the market made it mutter. I don't know why it was mutter before, but definitely was mutter before it made it in Yitzchak's dog. I got to take my paper down. Yeah. The Rambam explains the union of Haval Koltuvi al Panecho, and you'll see Acherai and V'leirani Yodom V'choi. You can't see when you die. And with Roshim, which we still don't understand, is that when you die, you see the Shechina. I don't know what those things mean, so I can't answer you. But what is it that I'm aiming to know? And so the Rambam says, the Ikya somehow of the Torah, and that's by Smalkov, something is to know Hashem. What do you mean know Hashem? To understand a little bit what Hashem is. Obviously, we can't understand. He says, why? Because the Rebbeinu is infinite, and a human is non-infinite. So a non-infinite thing cannot understand something that's infinite. No beginning, no end. What does that mean? Right? No end, they can understand a little better because it just keeps going. But what do you mean there was no beginning? A person can't understand that. By not being able to understand it, he gets a big problem of emunah and stuff like that. So the person should try and becomes a godless of my cover to understand. But I don't really understand. That's what the Beis was telling you. You're a person that has an end, and you're an infinite. You've had a beginning. You're not infinite. You can't understand infinity, and therefore, Mamela, I can't show you my face. And he describes it like different types of recognition. Like a good friend, you see the face, by the facial features, you can identify it. Right? Sometimes you see a guy who you think is the friend because you're seeing him from the back features, and you scream out, "Hi, Yankel," and he turns around and it's not a different guy altogether. Why? Because I thought I saw that looks like him. So that's Acherai. That's the back. So the business is to understand God as an individual that you can't do. Of course, you can't see my face because we can't get to that understanding of infinity to that degree. Up on the other hand, to know that God is different and everything else than all other brias in the world. Or he's not a bria, but whatever it is, than everything else in the world, that we can do. So therefore, Acherai, we're able to see. We're able to see that division point. Anyway, a good Shabbos, some of the Seichels and the really Shlema with the Torah, to that degree, well, Takamaisim will cover down pat. A good Shabbos, everybody.
Shabbos ready.
Shabbos.
What's the